When people think about American rifles of the Second World War, most immediately picture the powerful M1 Garand. But there was another firearm that quietly became one of the most widely issued U.S. weapons of the war, lighter, shorter, and built for a different kind of soldier. This is the story of the M1 Carbine, the lightweight World War II service rifle that armed drivers, paratroopers, officers, and support troops across every major theater of the war. By 1940, the U.S. Army faced a serious problem. Modern warfare had become faster and more mechanized. Truck drivers, radiomen, artillery crews, mortar teams, and officers needed something more effective than a pistol but lighter and more manageable than a full-sized battle rifle like the M1 Garand. The standard .45 caliber M1911 pistol had limited range and accuracy, while the Garand was long and heavy for soldiers whose primary job wasn't frontline infantry combat. The Army issued a requirement for a light rifle. What followed was a remarkably rapid development process. The design that ultimately won the contract was created by a team led by David Carbine Williams at Winchester. The result was officially adopted in 1941 as the U.S. Carbine, caliber .30, M1, better known simply as the M1 Carbine. Weighing just over 5 pounds unloaded, the M1 Carbine was dramatically lighter than the M1 Garand. It fired a .30 carbine cartridge, a round more powerful than a pistol bullet but less powerful than standard rifle ammunition. This gave it a practical effective range of about 200 to 300 yards, more than enough for support troops in close quarters fighting, but not intended to replace a full-power infantry rifle. One of the defining features of the M1 Carbine was its semi-automatic action. Unlike bolt-action rifles still used by many armies at the time, the Carbine allowed rapid follow-up shots with minimal recoil. The detachable 15-round magazine was another major advantage, providing more firepower than most contemporary rifles. Later in the war, 30-round magazines would be introduced for select fire variants. The M1 Carbine entered service just as the United States was preparing for global war. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, production ramped up at an astonishing pace. More than 6 million M1 carbines would be produced during World War II, making it one of the most manufactured U.S. small arms of the conflict. In fact, it surpassed even the M1 Garand in total numbers produced. It quickly saw action in the European theater, the Pacific, North Africa, and later during the liberation of France and the push into Germany. Its lightweight design made it especially popular among paratroopers. The airborne version, designated the M1A1, featured a folding stock that made it more compact for jumps. When American paratroopers dropped into Normandy on D-Day, many carried M1A1 carbines. In the dense jungles of the Pacific, the carbine proved particularly useful. The shorter barrel and lighter weight made it easier to maneuver through thick vegetation. In close-range jungle engagements against Japanese forces, the fast handling and low recoil were significant advantages. However, the weapon also faced criticism in these conditions. Some soldiers complained about stopping power, especially when facing determined enemy troops at close range. The .30 carbine round has been debated ever since. While it was far more effective than a handgun, it lacked the raw power of a full-sized rifle cartridge. At longer ranges or against heavily clothed enemies in cold weather, some reports suggested reduced effectiveness. Yet it's important to remember that the M1 Carbine was never meant to replace the Garand. It was designed for troops whose primary role was not direct infantry assault. As the war progressed, the design evolved. The M2 Carbine introduced a select fire capability, allowing fully automatic fire. This gave certain units increased suppressive capability in close combat. The M3 Carbine went a step further by integrating an early infrared night vision device, one of the first practical night fighting systems ever fielded. Though bulky and limited by modern standards, it represented a major technological leap at the time. The M1 Carbine's service did not end in 1945. It saw extensive use during the Korean War, where again its lightweight was appreciated in mountainous terrain. However, the extreme cold of Korea revealed reliability issues when lubrication froze or when ammunition performance suffered in sub-zero conditions. Even so, the carbine remained in frontline service. Beyond Korea, the M1 Carbine continued to serve around the world. It was supplied to allies through military aid programs and was used by various nations for decades. During the early years of the Vietnam conflict, some South Vietnamese forces were equipped with M1 and M2 carbines before being transitioned to more modern rifles. It also appeared in numerous post-war conflicts, from the Middle East to Asia. In terms of design, the M1 carbine was ahead of its time in some respects. Its intermediate cartridge concept foreshadowed the development of later assault rifles. While it was not technically an assault rifle, since the original M1 was semi-automatic and its cartridge was unique, it helped bridge the gap between pistols and full-power rifles. In many ways, it anticipated the shift toward lighter, more controllable infantry weapons that would define the second half of the 20th century. Culturally, the M1 carbine became an icon. Photographs of American GIs in Europe and Marines in the Pacific often show the compact rifle slung across their shoulders. It symbolized mobility and adaptability in a rapidly changing battlefield environment. Its simple lines, wooden stock, and compact profile made it instantly recognizable. One of the most remarkable aspects of the M1 carbine program was its industrial story. Production was spread across multiple companies, including not just traditional firearms manufacturers but also firms better known for other products. Companies like Inland Division of General Motors played a major role in manufacturing. This demonstrated the full mobilization of American industry during wartime, where civilian factories converted to produce weapons at an unprecedented scale. The carbine's ease of use was another major advantage. It was relatively simple to train soldiers on its operation and maintenance. Its lighter recoil made it accessible even to troops with limited firearms experience. For many support soldiers, it provided confidence and defensive capability without the burden of carrying a heavy battle rifle. Of course, no weapon is without flaws. Critics argue that in high-intensity frontline combat, especially against entrenched or well-equipped enemy troops, the carbine lacked the power and range of full-sized rifles. Others note that its reputation sometimes suffered due to unrealistic expectations. It was a specialized tool designed for a specific role, and when used within that role, it performed effectively. Today, the M1 carbine remains popular among collectors and shooting enthusiasts. Surplus rifles have been sold on the civilian market for decades, and modern manufacturers still produce new versions. Its historical significance, combined with its manageable size and low recoil, keeps it relevant even in the 21st century. Looking back, the M1 carbine represents more than just a firearm. It reflects a shift in military thinking, a recognition that not every soldier needed a full-power battle rifle, but every soldier needed effective personal defense. It embodies the industrial might of a nation at war, the adaptability of American design, and the practical realities of modern combat. From the beaches of Normandy to the islands of the Pacific, from the frozen hills of Korea to conflicts around the globe, the M1 carbine earned its place in history. Lightweight, versatile, and produced in staggering numbers, it became one of the defining small arms of World War II. And while it may stand in the shadow of the more famous M1 Garand, the carbine carved out its own legacy, one carried not just by frontline infantry, but by the countless drivers, medics, engineers, paratroopers, and support troops who helped win the war. In their hands, the M1 carbine was more than a lightweight rifle. It was a symbol of readiness, mobility, and the evolving face of 20th century warfare.